gorgeous, beautifully looking f1.4 lens from Meike with some serious flaws? Well, it is the cheapest 85mm f1.4 Prime on the market, so perhaps the price just might convince you to get it. But anyhow, by the end of the video you should be well informed on whether to get this lens or not. First of all, there are not that many f1.4 85mm autofocus lenses. Technically 6, but 2 of them, Samyang and Sony, has the Mark II out, and price difference is so little, it's not much worth mentioning them unless you're looking to buy used ones. Nevertheless, Meike is the biggest and chunkiest boy of all, coming in with whooping 26 ounces or 735 grams, although it is not the longest. Design wise, I'm impressed. It feels super high quality, sort of resembles Canon's RF lenses. You got your very smooth focus ring with plenty of grip and resistance, as well as aperture ring, which is great addition, and not all lenses on this list has it. However, note, it is always clicked. There is no button to declick it. Meike also has added a function button as well as AF/MF switch. On the back we have a metal mount and a thick rubber gasket for weather sealing, but unfortunately I was not able to confirm if the lens is completely weather sealed with all the gaskets on all the rings. On the front you have a big beautiful glass 77mm filter thread and the closest focus distance of 3.2 feet, which is 98 centimeters. It's not uncommon to have quite far close focusing distance for the 85mm lenses, but this one is the worst of the 4. In comparison, Sony's lens can focus as close as 31.5 inches or 80 centimeters. The thing that really struck me on this lens is the internal build quality. Oh wait, before I go on, I must mention Meike sent me this lens to be able to produce this review video, but I'm not paid to do it and I have free will to say my honest thoughts. And what I was about to say is that autofocus and aperture blade noise is probably one of the loudest I've ever heard. Not sure if it's just my copy, but here goes the aperture blades. And this is the focusing noise. Yeah, you definitely hear it. So if you're shooting videos and will be using audio, I would say it's a no-go, as your mic will definitely pick it up. But let's take a look at some image examples before we talk about the autofocus. I absolutely love the look of the images this lens produces, and I also find it very sharp no matter the aperture. I took over 1,000 shots on Sony a7 IV and most of them wide open just to really push its capabilities. Through all of these examples you can see that colors are really nice, the contrast is great, and even at f1.4 there are plenty of details even when punching in at 100%. And even in corners the sharpness was great. At lower aperture it's just perfect, just as wide open, so you have the freedom to really play around with the aperture. I also very much appreciate how sharp all the corners, the building edges, as well as this cables are in this very high contrasty scene. Obviously I took plenty of portrait photos since this lens primarily would be used to do portrait photography, wedding, and I personally also like to do street photography with it. Truly amazing performance. The 3 downsides on the optical performance side are quite big lens flares, especially when the sun is kinda low. You'll get this crazy round reflection, so really have to avoid shooting backlight, which is my absolute favorite thing to do in portrait photography. On the other hand, the chromatic aberration was not noticeable at all in any of my real life tests. Second thing, there is a bit of vignette, which is not end of the world. However, to correct that you will have to do it manually because there's no profile in Adobe Lightroom, so be aware of that. And lastly, I gotta mention this, there were some shots with the weirdest distortion. No idea why it happens, but it happened on several of my cameras. So here's a normal image, but then suddenly boom, super stretched horizontally, and then voila, squeezed. Same here with this car. I was on the same spot just taking 2 to 3 photos, and then just random distortion kicks in. I tried everything to replicate it, but it just seems it's just a very random thing. I reached out to Meike, they tested it out in their lab and did not find a fault in any of their lenses, so it seems it's only my copy that is faulty. And you know, if I were to buy it, I would return it immediately to get a new copy, so very important to test your lens as soon as you get it. Well, but let's finish on something positive. Bokeh, beautiful, creamy, amazing. F1.4 on full frame, and especially at this focal length, is just pure madness. By the way, I did try out shooting some videos, looks great, awesome sharpness, all good. Just the annoying thing about the noise of autofocus, and because the aperture ring is not declicked, you won't be able to smoothly change the aperture while doing the video. Now let's talk about the autofocus. First of all, this lens still uses the STM or stepping motor autofocus technology, and honestly I don't think you can expect the best results with this technology unless you are Sigma, because those guys somehow managed to nail the autofocus even with the STM. This one, speed is okay, accuracy, it would be a hit or miss. Sometimes the lens would be quick enough, sometimes would just miss it a little bit. In videos, it was actually good. The only thing was that when focusing with the touchscreen from close to far, the lens sort of goes a bit further than needed and then quickly comes back. It could have been just, you know, a little bit snappier, but then again, remember the price. Overall, not that bad. Most of the shots were accurate, but definitely not as fast as even, you know, like Sony's 85mm f1.8. So, do I recommend it? Well, I'll remind you that it's the cheapest f1.4 85mm lens, coming in only at $469. It's very well built, visually beautiful in my opinion, and it has a ton of features like the aperture ring, the AFMS switch, etc. It also produces beautiful and very sharp photos. If that's all you care, well, it's definitely worth considering. Downsides? Well, it's very noisy, so I would certainly not recommend it for someone who intends to shoot videos, and autofocus is not the best on the market. So if you intend to shoot paid gigs like weddings, I would say a no-go. But perhaps the biggest drawback is the size and weight. Personally speaking, if I were shopping for 85mm, I would much rather sacrifice the f1.4 and get the f1.8 instead, to shave off literally half of its weight and size, because that matters more for me. I really wish Sigma would make a super compact but optically perfect 85mm f1.8 instead of f1.4 art lens. I would just buy it without thinking. Let me know, how does your perfect 85mm look like? Perhaps this Meike is already great given the price. Anyways, I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to keep on creating.